welcome. My name is Jason Day. I'm a product designer at Atomic Robots, and today I have Jonathan with me.
Hello, I am Jonathan Johnson. I am an Android and Flutter developer at Atomic Robot.
All right, today we just want to walk you through how we build input fields in Figma and how they are built for Android devices. So what we're looking at right now on the Figma side of things are a bunch of different input fields we're going to make. Probably not going to make all of them because some of these are for desktop and hover states. But we have the default, we have focused, filled and focused, and an error state. So we're just going to recreate these using kind of what we have here. And Jonathan is going to build them on his end. Tell us a little bit about what you're building over there.
Okay, sure. So this is just going to be a native Android app out of Android Studio using Kotlin Compose and Hilt. And this is basically just everything you see here right now is going to be what you would get out of the box when you create a new project, with the exception that I have gone ahead and added my dependencies that I knew I was going to need so that we don't have to watch me do that for 10 minutes.
Okay, great. Just remind me what dependency like you're kind of talking about when you say that.
So these are the other libraries that I am going to be using in order to build this app.
Okay.
So I have, for instance, here, the Compose library, my, testing libraries, my Hilt libraries, that sort of thing. That's just going to help me build the code faster, without having to reinvent any wheels.
All right. Makes sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm just going to, let me fix my keycaster. Sorry about that. Keycaster. All right. Hopefully that will work. Click this. Yes. All right. So now I'm just going to copy and paste that text down here. Oop, it copied up there, not down here. That's all right. So we have this text. We just copied and pasted it. So all we're going to do is I'm going to pull back my toolbars up. Command period for the show your toolbars, or you can hide them using that hotkey right there. And we're just going to do Shift A and put an auto layout frame around it. And let's just go ahead and call it input. And just name everything as you go. A big proponent for naming everything. We're just going to put a little bit of border on it, rounded edges there, 8 rounded edges. And then let's see how we built this thing. So we have this little icon. So let's just copy and paste that, and we're going to squeeze it right inside of there, just like that. So now we already have what looks to be the starting of an input field. We're just going to put a little stroke on it with this same color, Mono 400. And we have these kind of already loaded color styles that you can use, or you can use your own, but there's some pre-built ones in there. And so now we're going to make this a component already. So Option Command K makes it a quick component. And we want everything that we make to be responsive. So right now that's not what you would expect of an input field. We would want to have that kind of left weighted, right? And so the icon typically would be to the right. So we're just going to change this layout here to auto, and it's going to slide that right over. And I forgot to add some padding on both sides of this. So let's go ahead and do that. This is like your auto layout toolbox here. And we could just add 16 there, maybe 16 on the bottom. Might be too much. Let's do 12. You just kind of got to eyeball it and see what looks right. So there you have it. We have an input field already, as quick as that. So now we're going to make the next one. And we're going to skip the hover state since we're making this for an Android device. And we're just going to do this focus field. So when the user taps the input field, it becomes active, and you'll see this label there. And we're going to go ahead and select that text and save it for later because we're going to use it for our next component. All right, so now you just select that component, and we're going to duplicate it by hitting that little plus button there. And I'm going to go ahead and auto layout my variants, my different components there, so we have a little bit of breathing room in this thing. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this label and paste it right inside there. And now you can see that the this new text I've put in here is kind of confined by the rules of auto layout. So what we can do is command click that text, and over here on the right panel, if you hover, you'll see it says absolute position. So you just click that, and it will break all the rules of the auto layout frame that it's in. And we're just going to lift that up over here, and we're going to put that in an auto layout frame and call it label, because that's going to go over top, and because we want to put a fill on it of white. And let's put a little bit of padding around the sides, and let's make that a hug so we can see those. So it's just basically hugging it with the padding. And let's go ahead and fill these with white, and we can fill in our whole input section here with white. There we go. So now it kind of looks more like you would expect. But what we need to do is change some of our colors, right, to be that focus state. So we can just select the whole thing, and where it says the Mono 400, we're just going to change that to the cosmic blue color. I'm surprised I didn't grab the calendar. I must not have clicked the right one. That's okay. So there we go. And now we can name these appropriately. This would be your default, and this would be the focused. So I'm going to stop there because that's a lot, and I'm sure you're underway with trying to keep up, or maybe you're ahead of me. I don't know.
Well, I'm following a slightly different track, although kind of keeping up. What I'm doing right now is I'm going ahead and setting up my text field component. And from what you have there, I can tell that this is going to be an outlined text field, which is a component that is available through the Compose framework and already does a lot of what you are doing there. So the label, the placeholder, the trailing icon, and the error state, enabled state, these things are available to me out of the box. So I am just kind of filling it in as you are going through the colors and the spacing and stuff like that. And then I will, once you have your kind of color palette more complete, then I'll go back through and actually add in my theming.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, let's see. So next, I guess we'll do the this focused with the filled text. So let's go ahead and copy this because we already got some properties there we want to mimic. And we're going to make another duplicate of this. And now the plus button is just underneath here. You can just hit plus. And we're going to paste it right inside. Did it not do that? No, it didn't. I pasted it over there because that was selected. All right, so let's try this again. Paste it. And so now, again, it's confined to the rules of auto layout, which is what we want, actually. But we're noticing that there's not much space here because we want a little bit of padding between everything. So I think we're going to make these a little bit larger. There we go. And I think this cursor, we're going to want that to be a little bit closer to the text. So let's go ahead and put that in an auto layout, and we're going to name it. So let's just call it text plus cursor for now. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what I'm calling it. And I'm going to change this from auto to 12 and just change that spacing to 4. I think that looks a little bit more expected. But yeah, and there you have it. You have the focused filled, I guess. Focused filled. And then I said filed. Can't spell. All right, so let's duplicate it one more time. Kaboom. And now we can just take that out, that cursor. We don't need it anymore. and it's going to go back to that 400 color we were using, right? Because it's not active anymore. The user has finished completing the form and they don't need it anymore. So they would go on to the next one. So let me change this color to the right one. There we go. All right. And I think we're going to leave that icon blue because it's still active because they filled it out. Well, maybe not. I didn't do that here. So maybe we'll go back to gray. I guess it depends on the use case and what you're working on with your particular project. For now, let's just copy what we got, and you feel free to use whatever color you like. And I think lastly, we're going to do the error state with the error message. So let's go ahead and grab that message and just copy that, Command C, and we're going to duplicate. Oh, we didn't name it. We got to name it. Let's just call it filled for now. Did I name this one? Yes. And then plus. All right. And so now we're just going to copy that paste. Copy that text into the field. You big dummy. All right. But see what it's done? It's copied my previous, what do you call it? That absolute positioning. So we'll just delete that because I wanted to show you how to actually do it. So let's go ahead and, how do I get to just the text? Interesting. Let's try it this way. All right, will this work? There we go. So now we want to put that in absolute positioning. And again, auto layout that. And let's just drop it down a little bit. And we're going to call it error message. Copy that, paste. That's a good one. All right. So now let's just change these colors to reflect that semantic state there, and change the label to red because why not? Let's just really emphasize that you have made a boo-boo. All right. Failure. Boom. And now we can just call this error. There we go. Done. That's it. Pretty simple, really. And then what we can do is a quick little trick here, and I should have done this earlier, but see, it saved it, this little boolean, but I'm going to break it just to show you how to make that. And so for your layer, you just go to this little diamond guy and just go, I usually do like icon right, so I know what I'm doing, because sometimes you'll have icons on the left and right, and you can just boolean that thing on and off. Pretty easy. And then if you're worried, like, oh, my text is centered, just come back here and hit 10 and or whatever spacing you have and set, and it will send it right back. And if you have like a right aligned, you can right align it. But just kind of showing you how that works with these little auto layout box. And I'm going to pause there for now and throw it over to you, Jonathan, before I start setting up prototype stuff.
Okay, yeah, so you've run a little bit ahead of me there, but that's okay. I'm about to start catching up with the theming. So we have this outline text field pretty much done, for the moment at least. We'll go back and check towards the end. What I was doing just then was adding in my view model so that I could control the state of this text field. And right now, we just have a function to update the user input text and another function to update the label text. Because in this outline text field, the label text is used as the placeholder text if it does not have focus. So we want to make sure that, say, in your first example there, where it does not have focus, we want that label to say placeholder text. When it gains focus, we want to switch that to input labels. So that's what I've done right here. And then as you move on to the next thing, I am going to try to catch up with my theming by copying over some of your colors and styles.
Great. All right. So I'm going to walk really quickly some prototyping. So we're just going to do what they call interactive prototypes, or interactive components rather. because these are components that you can apply prototyping properties to. So we just want to switch from design to prototype. And when you hover over any component that you want to apply a prototype function to, you'll see these little nodules show up, and you just grab them, and there's these little noodles come out, and you can just drag them and let go, and it will apply, whatever your last auto layout selection was. So I think the last thing I did smart animate ease out with 220 milliseconds for the ease out animation. Now there's lots of options you can choose here. There's ease in and out, ease in back, just tons of different cool things you can play with. So I highly recommend just seeing kind of what all those features offer. But we're just going to do this quick little ease out for now. And like as you saw there, you can do on tap or on drag, hovering, pressing, all kinds of different cool options there. So we'll just do the same thing for this, because we're just going to show you real quickly how we can click through something and go back to that and grab that. And I think this one, we'll just send it back to regular filled for this one. And that's that. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I think if you hit A, you can bring up a whole bunch of frames over here. And let's just go with this, the first one at the top here, iPhone 14. And we can just call this input field test. All right. And so now we're just going to copy and paste this over here, and go back to design, and let's just center that text right there. Okay. And just to show you a little bit more auto layout stuff, we can, if you hit Shift Option, you can just pull that down, make a duplicate, and we're going to select both and put it in that auto layout, and let's just call it form for now, like filling out a form. And let's change the spacing to 48, because we want to be able to accommodate those error states and the labels as well. And now we just select these two, make sure they're responsive, right? So you go to fill container, and then this outside one will be fixed. If it will listen to me, there we go. So let's do 343. All right, and then now if we hit Command D and duplicate it, it just automatically listens to our auto layout settings. So I can just do a whole form field like that just by hitting duplicate. And you can just simply change the text that you want to be there. And I'm going to pause right there before I go into playing the prototype. If you share a little update of where you're at.
Okay, sure. So I am going through this list of input fields and their states that you have made, and I am copying over your colors. And I'll go ahead and give you a preview of what I'm going to do next as well. I'm first making just an enum class to contain the colors that will help me to map to what you are doing as a designer, because in here I'm going to actually match the names that you have given to your colors, so that we will have that common point of reference.
Perfect.
Once I have these filled in, I will add these to my theme by overriding colors in the default color scheme. And if I can show you something else real quick, the way that I will do that is through this website here, the Material 3 components, which is really helpful for this mapping if you are trying to stick to this mapping. So I'm going to pull up text fields.
Wait,
and I'm going to pull up the spec.
I'm not seeing what you're showing, I don't think.
Oh, I might only be sharing my, right. So I think I'm only sharing with you my Android Studio. This is going to be showing up on, this should be showing up on the video recording though.
Oh, perfect.
So we should still all be able to see this once this is edited together.
Okay.
But anyhow, in the specs here, if I go to outline text field, what it's going to provide me if I scroll down, it's going to provide me all of the states that are possible for this text field. And then it's going to give me the color tokens that by default are mapped to each part of this component. And where possible, especially with a little simple example like this, I'm going to try to stick to these color tokens so that the framework just handles all of this out of the box for me, and I don't have to hard code all of my colors actually in the component. I can just have them in one place in my theme. So that's what you're going to see me doing here next, is adding in those mappings.
Okay. Cool. All right, let me throw this prototype, show a little bit about that. So Figma has a cool update where you can preview the prototype within your workspace, which is pretty nice. You don't need to open up a whole new window, but you can open up a whole new window and you just go to present. So this would be more like if you were presenting to clients or you wanted to see it in more kind of lifelike scenario, like in an actual device. But we should be able to click and show all the different states that we've created, just like that. And so, there's our error state. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And that should work also in this inline prototype view. Yeah, so it should all work for all of them. And that's pretty much it for the prototype aspect of it. There are also hover states you can do. So if we were doing something for desktop, we could apply those hover states and it would reflect here too. But for now, I think for Android, we'll just focus on what that is capable of. All right. And what are you working on?
Yes, and as I mentioned earlier here, I am just going back through and filling in the colors that I have previously looked up through that website I showed, so that these are going to map in the way that I want them to what you have done over there, so that without actually having to, all I have to provide is, let it know whether it's enabled, in an error state, or focused. As long as it knows those three things, then it will handle these colors for me. Once I add them to my theme right here, and I have one more, which is the error color. Okay, and then we'll just copy this over to our light scheme as well. We're not going to be that complicated with it right now. And okay, so that should, if we go back and look at the components, as long as I'm providing it an error state enabled, handling the focus, it will handle the rest of the colors for me, with one exception. There is going to be one exception here, and that is that by default, it does not like to change that trailing icon color. It will keep that gray. So we're just going to override that so that it turns blue. I think it will put it in an error state. We can check when I run it later.
Okay.
But we do want to tell it to turn blue when it's focused. So that's what we're setting right here. Focused trailing icon color. And we're just going to tell that to be secondary cosmic. That's going to be that. I think this should be pretty much done here. And now we're ready to go to the main activity and just create a display composable here. That's in the view model. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an extra button just so we can control just so we can see the changing states of it. So let's see, we're going to have a column.
And what's the column?
So a column is just like a vertical list of components.
Okay.
Right, so just what you have there, and it's going to handle laying those out vertically after one another. So we're going to have that tutorial input field. There we go. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see. So we need to pass the state down to that tutorial input field. So we'll just say input state. There we go. So our text value, our label value. And these are all coming from that view model that I showed earlier that I already have set up. And then here, we already have, I think I already set up a method for this. That's going to be called update input text. And then this one is going to be called update label text. And then now beneath this, I'm just going to add in a little button, a little space there. And the button is just going to say change something. And then we need one more view model method here. We'll say random. So we need to add in our random update. And all this is going to do essentially is just to roll a die and is, depending on what number we get, that will let us know what state this should be in. So let's say if do something there. And then finally, what we will do is in each state, in each case, we will change our state. And what we want to change so we can see the different states is whether it's enabled and whether it's in an error state. And let's see if it's going to be there. We're going to say the not enabled and not an error. And this one, we're going to put it in an error state. Okay, and I think, let's see, I've got an error somewhere in here. What is my, there we go. Okay, now we do need to finally instantiate this view model. Just going to do it the cheap way right now. And Normally I would not do that, but that's okay for this example. Pass that in there. And then we would go up here to run it on an emulator. And then that is going to show up in my running devices over here. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Was there anything else you needed to cover there before I show the kind of finished result here?
Not really. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if that's finished now, then we have, so here's our kind of unfocused state without any text in it. If I click on it, then it's going to become focused. Everything's going to turn blue. That
Nice.
input label will move up to the top. And let's see, there are many reasons. And that's chugging along there because I'm running a lot of stuff at the same time.
Sure.
But there's my focus state with text. And if we change something here, okay, now we've put it in an error state.
Perfect.
So we've changed those colors. That looks like it matches yours.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that some of these margins and padding are kind of handled out of the box for me here, unless I have a specific need to change these and drill down deeper. So the only thing I did have to set the rounding shape here to get that little bit of rounding. Otherwise, this is all out of the box. And let me see if I can find. Let me go to my random number generator is not being kind here. And there we go. There's a disabled state.
The state I forgot.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Wow, that was really fast for all those different states. So very cool. Well, thanks for walking us through that. That was great.
Yeah, thanks to you too. Fun time doing this.
All right, everybody. Well, I think that concludes our input field tutorial. If you have any questions about our process or any of the tools that we use, feel free to ask away. And if there's some other type of thing you want to learn, whether it's design or development, feel free to reach out and ask us requests for a different type of tutorial. So hope everyone has a super fantastic, wonderful day. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.